Like always, I want to take a minute and thank you guys for coming out and covering Penn State football. We don't take that for granted, and we do appreciate it. I'd like to start by thanking the fans. We had a noon game, which I know they love. They love the noon games. FCS opponent, a good FCS opponent. Potential rain and thunder and lightning. We had an awesome crowd. Awesome crowd. 108,000 fans, 585. To me, that is an example of how special this place is. In today's day and age, people are struggling to get fans at games, and we got 108,000 for a noon game. So very, very appreciative, especially with the weather forecast. The weather held out, which was great. A couple things I thought offensively. I just thought we were very efficient. We were able to stay on the field. We were able to sustain drives. We were able to convert on third down, converted a few times on fourth down. The one thing is the penalties. That, we've been pretty disciplined with that. I wasn't happy with that. But besides that, I thought we played very efficient today on offense. Defensively, same thing. I thought we played really well. We had the one play where we were not gap sound. The ball found that gap, and they got some talented guys that can run. So just a really good example of everybody's got to do their job on a consistent basis. If you're supposed to be in the B gap, you got to be in the B gap. If you're supposed to be in the C gap, you got to be in the C gap. But overall, obviously, statistically, really good. Then I thought we were more consistent on special teams today. Our kickoffs, our few kick returns will be some things that we got to get cleaned up. We didn't have a whole lot of punt opportunities, but I think when we did, I think it was a 47-yard punt. So there's some stuff to build on. And then the last thing is we were able to play a ton of guys. We were able to get a bunch of guys experience, which is going to be important for us down the stretch. But we also were able to get a lot of our guys off the field as well. I'll be interested to see what the play count was for a guy like Olu and a guy like Hunter. But we were able to get some guys off the field, to keep those guys fresh and healthy moving forward. So again, appreciate everybody coming out. When you talk about, last thing I'll say, you talk about the stats that we talked about time, turnover battle, we won. Explosive play battle, we won. I think we doubled explosive plays. Third down battle, we won. Sack battle, we won. Starting field position battle, we won. The one thing we did not win is the penalty battle, which was disappointing. But overall, really good. Open up the questions.
Rich.
James, right here to your left. Can you describe how well your two lead running backs played, and what goes into which series they play, who starts, and those things? Because I know you mentioned how well both of them have played so far.
Yeah, so if you look at it, Katron had over 100 yards, averaged 5 yards per carry, over 5 yards a carry. Trey Potts averaged over 8 yards a carry. Nick Singleton averaged 4 yards a carry and had 3 touchdowns. So, those guys have bought in to the idea that we have 2 starting tailbacks. We'll see how that goes week to week based on preparation, throughout the week. But we're going to play them both like starter reps. And, I think obviously they're competitors and they get out there and they want the ball and they want opportunities to make plays. But I think they also understand, long term, not only for their collegiate careers, but afterwards, showing that, those guys have a lot of, tread left on the tires and are fresh for their careers, for the long haul. So I think they're bought into it. Sometimes in the heat of the battle, they want more opportunities and more touches, but I think big picture-wise, they really get it. They really get it. So I'm proud of them. We'll continue to play them both like starters. That's how we view them. Probably similar at our tight end position as well.
Mark?
James, you were able to do some mix and match options on your offensive line with JV, Venga, and Drew. Is that something you would ideally like to be able to do as the season goes along? And then could you address how your young kids played, the true freshmen in the line?
Yeah, so with the offensive line, I apologize. For whatever reason, the board reported the starting lineup incorrect. I don't know how that happened, but I apologize for that. You know, we had a couple guys. There was kind of a flu bug going around campus, and we had a couple guys miss a couple days of practice where they were able to play, but felt like between the position coaches and the players saying, "Well, I missed 2 days of practice, and this other guy deserves to start." I thought that was handled the right way today, so that factored into it. Then we were able to get Olu and Hunter out and be able to get Dawkins some reps, which we thought was really important. Venga played a ton today, which we thought was important. You know, and then obviously being able to get some of the younger guys in the game, Javin and Anthony Donka as well. So it's a lot to build on, and also smart just to keep those guys fresh and take care of them. But we had a bunch of young guys play, so it'll be really good film to evaluate. We'll still have our D Squad Plus scrimmage Sunday night based on reps. Some of these guys will be out of it this week, but they're not out of it for the season. I want to make sure that they understand, you know, they haven't arrived and they still need to be developing and getting better. So we'll look at the rep count for Sunday night, but overall, very pleased with all the young guys and how they were able to get in and contribute.
Allie, back left.
James, sometimes the program faces criticism for who's scheduled early in the season. Do you have a response to that? And also, what are the values of having a game like this where you get so many different guys in? Can this pay dividends in a few weeks when you start really needing some of those?
Yeah, you know, I think a couple things. I think if you look at the model of teams that have been in the championship, teams that have been in the playoffs, and teams that have won conference championships. I think there's pretty good data and evidence on what's the right thing to do. And again, like we've talked about before, 9 games factors into that as well. You know, those things have kind of changed college football more than anything. Back when you used to play the kickoff classic games and things like that with 8 conference games was different. So I think at the end of the day, you're trying to do what you think is right for your university and your program. That's myself, the athletic director, but you're also doing studies and studying the data and see what the data says. So this could be a long discussion. But what was your second part of your question?
Just the value of having guys.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing, right, is being able to play games like that where you get a ton of guys on the field and get your starters off the field. There's a lot of value. It's a long season. You know, you have an opportunity to play 15 games, and if all 15 of those games, your starters are staying in for 4 quarters and grinding it out, that's challenging. So when you talk about 9 conference games, when you talk about conference championship games, when you talk about a playoff, all those things, you know, have to factor into your decision making.
Tyler, back right.
Hey James, back here. This was your first chance to monitor Drew Aller coming out of one start, preparing for the next start. Along the way, he's named Big Ten Conference Player of the Week. But you also have these things happening from a roster perspective. I'd imagine there's some shuffling parts with guys being sick, maybe on and off the field. How did he handle this week as the orchestrator of the offense and ultimately getting to the point where he was as sharp as he was on Saturday?
Yeah, he's just steady Eddie. Like, he never gets too high, he never gets too low. You can pat him on the back, you can scream at him. He just steady Eddie. And his preparation on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, obviously it's a small sample size, but last year I thought he prepared as if he was the starter, and he's taken it to another level this year. Doing a great job of managing the game, the clock, situational football, all those things. I've been impressed with him. So you know, we have obviously a larger number of plays to be able to evaluate, a number of situations. I thought the 2-minute drive with no timeouts was impressive. So there's a ton of things to build on, but so far so good. And then again, you talk about the quarterback room, Bo coming in, and showing he's able to move the offense as well and make plays and do it in a different way. And now, defensively, people are watching that saying, we got to prepare for this guy, because now you start to mix. Now that Bo has shown what he can do, now you start to mix Bo in a drive or for a couple series in a game, and you got to spend a ton of time on preparing for that. So that's exciting for us as well.
Two more, Ben, then Jared.
James, on your left for once. Drew's obviously very good, but he's still getting better. What's maybe the smallest detail that's made the biggest difference that he's been able to do consistently this year that maybe he didn't do last year?
Yeah, I don't know if I have that for you. I don't know if there's anything that jumps kind of to top of mind on that. I think the biggest thing is obviously he showed signs last year, but it was a small sample size. And this training camp as well as these first 2 games, there's a ton of plays to be able to evaluate. And what you guys are now getting to see, a larger number of reps, a larger sample size, is what we saw really all training camp. And, it's exciting to build on, it really is. And, I think if you're the first 2 opponents, specifically the first opponent, you say, I'm not going to let Nick Singleton and Katron Allen beat us. I'm going to make a starting quarterback, a first-time starting quarterback, prove that he can do it, no matter what the hype has been like. He's still got to prove that he's done it. Well, now I think the defensive coordinators moving forward, you're in a tougher spot. You got 2 running backs that can be challenging, and you got a quarterback that's shown that he'll do it and can make the throws and make the plays. So now there's enough evidence out there that as a defensive coordinator, you're questioning, what is our model for beating Penn State, in terms of our offense.
And Jared on the left here.
Coach Franklin on your left.
Yes, sir.
On Tuesday, you mentioned that, no matter how far down the depth chart you go, the standard remains the same for all you guys. We got to see a lot of guys see play time tonight. Do you feel like they lived up to that standard that you set for Penn State?
Yeah, I think first of all, I challenged him at halftime and said, listen, we need to play better in the second half than we did the first half. And you can make the argument, we gave up a touchdown in the first half and didn't give up any points in the second half. So I think it's a start, right? It's a start. I'll have a better idea after we watch the film to really grade these guys. But it's a start for the coaching staff to build on. But it's also, a pretty good example for these young guys. And I'm going to talk to the coaches about make sure they're grading, the fourth quarter as hard as they graded the first quarter as well. This will be really good film for all those guys to watch on Sunday.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend.